Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest gaming and chatting video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's continue the wonderful book Horror Video Games, Essays on the Fusion of Fear and Play by Bernard Perron. Once again, I'm on the introductions part. This will be part 3, and this will actually conclude the introductions, and then finally on the next part we'll be starting chapter 1. So far you're seeing a good illustration of what this book will entail. It'll go showcase some interesting theories and essays associated with horrors in video games, how they play out, what's done to make them so impactful, some of the specific video games cited as well, especially Resident Evil, and then of course my beloved Silent Hill. I can't wait until those chapters start being featured and then has some analysis from the actual creators. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's start this part 3. It has the sub-theme Encountering the Games, and here's what it says. Each contribution to the second section of the collection adopts its own perspective or concentrates on a specific topic in order to take a closer look at some of the key horror video games. In Plunge Alone into Darkness, Evolution and the Staging of Fear, and the Alone in the Dark series, Guillaume Roche-Girard takes a formalist approach to analyze the Alone in the Dark series, in which the first installment of the game is considered to be the godfather of survival horror. Therefore, he knows how the series has continuously evolved to intensify the gamer's emotional dread. For each game, Roche-Girard takes into consideration the narrative, the aesthetics, and the gameplay, pointing along the way to the role that the games played in the development of the genre and the innovations they pioneered. The experience of playing a survival horror game is marked by a sense of vulnerability and an ongoing effort to adapt to unfolding events and environments. These qualities and tasks can be better understood by exploring the similarities between this genre of games and Gothic literature, in which obscurity plays an important role in achieving the desired effect. In Patterns and Obscurity, Gothic Setting and Light in Resident Evil 4 and Silent Hill 2, Simon Niedenthal concentrates on the design and illumination of survival horror environments, such as those found in Resident Evil 4 and Silent Hill 2. According to Niedenthal, those elements are key to achieving obscurity, and contemporary eye-tracking technologies can help differentiate the different types of obscurity provided by occlusion, atmosphere, or darkness, leading us to begin to grasp how these elements are used to inflict fear. Inger Elkman and Petri Lankowski's essay, Hair-Rising Entertainment, Emotional Sounds, and Structure in Silent Hill 2 and Fatal Frame, examines the construction of emotion in games. Elkman and Lankowski combine various theories such as narrative comprehension, goal-oriented evaluations, and the representation of player character to explain the emotional reactions to the video game. Since horror relies a great deal on the audio for creating and supporting the emotions it elicits, they are very attentive to sound, its functional role, its extension into space, and its feedback for gameplay. Elkman and Lankowski analyzed Silent Hill 2 and Fatal Frame to expose the tricks and treats of the survival horror emotional design. In both game worlds where sounds are omnipresent and crucial to survival, they place the threatening monsters or ghosts and the goals of the two-player characters at the center of those scary experiences. The use of a magic camera as a weapon to exercise powers and to destroy the otherwise immaterial ghost spirits through the act of photographing them being the most original feature of the Fatal Frame series, Michael Nitschke focuses his attention on this device, its use, and the concept of spirit photography in the game. The main argument of complete horror in Fatal Frame is that Fatal Frame utilizes the ambiguity of the photographic image as both a document and a manipulation to evoke terror. Almost as a mirror to the mediating effect of the photograph, the avatar of the games is interpreted as a kind of medium itself, one that uses the axis of agency and interaction with the game world to transcend the horror from the virtual out to the real world and to ultimately situate the gamer in a horrific situation in both the game space and the real world. As there is no concept of the dead without one of the trappings of memory, no present with the past, Christian McCree refers to Jacques Derrida's notion of hauntology to study the anachronistic reflections in the horror video game. His essay, Gaming Hauntology, Dead Media and Dead Rising, Siren, and Michigan Report from Hell, carries on the theme of Nietzsche's essay as it observes technologies of representation and video games' own ghosts. The search through static for television channels to tune into and the VHS aesthetic of the sightjacking of System in Siren, the photographic taking in Dead Rising, and the action scene through the viewfinder of a digital video camera in Michigan, Report from Hell, make the literal connection between the specters of the dead and the specters of media visible. Matthew Wise introduces in The Rules of Horror, procedural adaptation of Clock Tower, Resident Evil, and Dead Rising, the concept of procedural adaptation to explain the operation of taking a text from another medium and modeling it as a computer simulation. For Wise, procedural adaptation encapsulates what video games do when they codify the conventions of horror texts. To expose the ins and outs of this process, Wise discusses two horror subgenres, the stalker film and the zombie film. He demonstrates how Clock Tower and Clock Tower 2 both use the recurring components of the stalker film identified by Carol J. Clover, the killer, the weapons, the terrible place, the victims, and the final girl, and the character behaviors to stimulate the subgenre. As Wise says, the core transmedial pleasure lies in the player getting to step into the final girl's role and discover the emergent dynamics of her iconic peril for themselves. Dealing with the behaviors of the zombie itself and the dynamics of dwindling safety, which are a common dilemma of zombie film protagonists, he then exposes the zombie simulation found in Resident Evil and Dead Rising. Tanya Kriswinska also takes us on a journey through the gamescape of adaptation, reanimating H.P. Lovecraft. The ludic paradox of Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth appraises the aforementioned game released by Bethesda in 2005, a direct adaptation of several short stories written by H.P. Lovecraft. Kriswinska shows how the core characteristics of the Cthulhu brand are treated with the terms of video game media and through the design choices along the ways in which aesthetic values related to the brand and genre are bounded by commercial imperatives, as well as to their relation to the way games commonly offer an experience where orchestration is woven with the ludic and participatory. Her essay also takes us through some aspects of both video game history and the horror genre, while eventually opening up some questions about the nature of the video game industry, its markets, and what might be said to constitute good or bad design. The reading through each one of these exciting essays in this collection remains a great front door to the world of horror video games. So, to anyone who has been gaming after dark, it is time to be thinking after dark. And then that's it. That's part 3 of the introductions from the book Horror Video Games, Essays on the Fusion of Fear and Play by Bernard Perron. So let's go ahead and let's quickly talk about this final part. As you can see, it surmises the rest of the book and what it'll entail. I am really excited about that chapter that's going to be called Hair-Raising Entertainment, Emotions and Sound and Structure in Silent Hill 2 and Fatal Frame. I've never played any of the Silent Hill games myself, like in person, controller in my hand, that kind of stuff. But I have seen all the video games on YouTube with my headphones on, and wow, the sound, especially like on Silent Hill 2, absolutely plays a pivotal role within the entire game. It is so unsettling, certain parts of the game, because of the sound. Everyone remembers that key scene in Silent Hill 2 where you're at like the basement of some apartment complex, and then all of a sudden you hear this almost like demonic baby/pig cry somewhere. That was so creepy to hear it the first time, and to have it be not even be like a jump scare. It just suddenly happens. It just makes it so much more impactful. And so I can't wait to see what that game involves. There's another one that is another chapter I'm excited about, is about the Alone in the Dark series. I have that game. I bought it years back. I found it like super cheap at Half Price Books, if I recall correctly, like a buck or two. And so I got it, but I never really fully played it. So if anyone knows more information about Alone in the Dark, especially the first one, let me know. I mean, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, because I may whip it out one of these days and play it on my computer if my Windows 11 is able to play it. But otherwise, I'll try to see it on YouTube one of these days too. And of course, the other chapters will heavily focus on Resident Evil games, and then also Fatal Frame, another game that I want to play as well. Great stuff. So I can't wait. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.